So lovelies, there is one thing that I'd really like you to stop telling each other, and it's be kind to yourself. I don't know when this started to become trendy around women, but I'm hearing it so much these days that someone admits to a friend, a colleague, that they are struggling with their confidence in some way. And then someone will say, it will always be a woman, be kind to yourself in response. And like, no one's getting specific about what this actually means. And I think it is causing some problems because of that, because you know, it takes quite a lot, I think, for women in leadership roles to admit that they are struggling with something, for example, getting nervous doing public speaking, as then when you get told or get given this kind of vague, kind of coachy advice, when you do that, and then it doesn't help you at all, it just feels like kind of fluffy and a little bit silly, to be honest. I think it's undermining our trust in each other to open up about things. Yeah, so when we get told something that's not very helpful, I think that little bit of us that made quite a bit of effort to finally open up and feel a little bit vulnerable then gets kind of clamped down. So I think it's definitely one of a long list of things that women need to stop telling each other. And in this video today, we're going to get into what I think like it actually means, yeah? And I'm going to be giving you 15 methods for you to actually learn how to be kind to yourself so that you can rebuild your confidence from the inside out and leave all of that kind of masking and secret anxiety aside. So welcome to my channel. My name is Anisha. I'm a leadership coach. I live full-time in a van. At the moment, I'm in the New Forest on a lovely campsite here. It's a glorious sunny day today at the moment. Right now it is the beginning of July 2026. Hello to people in the future. And I'm on a mission this year to help 10,000 women rebuild their confidence with this series, Imposter Syndrome, Secrets for Smart, Ambitious Women. So I've read all sorts of articles from well-meaning people over the years about imposter syndrome in response to women having confidence dips, and I've just personally found them unhelpful. I think imposter syndrome, as I was talking about in the first episode, I think it's a kind of label, a kind of like sort of pop psychology kind of diagnosis that's given to a lot of women when they are getting anxious when they're visible, or speaking up, or challenging the ways that things have always been done. And a bit like that phrase, be kind to yourself, it's not leading to change. Yeah? So women are just kind of getting left not knowing what to do, like what will actually work. And they might, you know, try some techniques like power poses that help them kind of mask in the moment, but there's all sorts of other things going on that aren't getting addressed by methods I think are without meaning to be, just actually quite superficial. So that's what this series is all about, is actually understanding like, well, what is going on with our confidence, what is going on with our anxiety up front, and what will actually help. And we're going to be getting more and more over the next few episodes into what I call methods for depth work, so kind of getting below the surface level worries and anxieties and self-doubt, getting down in there and finding out what's really going on, and finding ways of growing that actually changes things at a deeper level, so that we're not so blown about. So I really want to do this video in one take. I'm determined to do it. It's the first time I'm doing it on my phone, so fingers crossed it's all going to work and we're going to be able to upload it to YouTube. I really hope this all works, because I didn't particularly enjoy having to do a load of editing last time, and I was finding when I was trying to keep to a bit more of a script, like I just felt a little bit stilted. So what we've got today, welcome to my world, by the way, of public speaking. We've got some notes on some yellow sticky bits. So fingers crossed it's all gonna go okay. So yeah, be kind to yourself. Like what the hell are we even talking about here, my loves? So this might come up when you admit to someone that you're getting nervous about a presentation. Maybe you've frozen during an important meeting, you've waffled on a bit. in a Q&A, and afterwards you just feel all a bit kind of, well, for me, just kind of like icky and squirmy, and like yeah, I want to go and like hide and put, I call it like, I want to put myself back in the box. Yeah, I've kind of come out of the box, I've been visible, like I'm visible with these YouTube videos, and yeah, and then afterwards I get what I call kickback. Yeah, so there will be kind of some thoughts perhaps of self-doubt or self-criticism coming up afterwards, a sort of squirmy feeling inside. And yeah, and then we might open up to someone that is what actually goes on for us, and they say, oh, well, you need to be kind to yourself. You need to be kind to yourself. So what are we talking about here? Yeah, what do we mean by be kind to yourself? What does that actually involve? What's the action that we need to take in our minds? Because let's face it, a lot of this stuff is going on like inside of here. Like, what action do we actually need to take to be kind to ourselves? What does this mean? So I think there's a lot of like affirmations that go around. That's one of the things that people like to write about, and again, often I think we can just feel like these are insincere. Yeah, the thoughts that pop up in your head are quite negative, and then what you meant to just be telling yourself, like, you're great, you're enough. Like, does that work? Maybe it works for you, but the women I'm talking to here like might have tried something like that and it's not worked for you. So like, do we mean like self-affirmations? These thoughts that arise, they seem to be quite automatic, so it's not like we're choosing to be unkind to ourselves, so it doesn't really kind of make sense on that level. Or are we telling ourselves, you don't need to worry about pushing yourself, or this is the way it's always going to be, you know, be kind to yourself, just accept that this is how things are, and you know, and that's it. You know, things aren't really going to change. Like, what? Yeah, maybe that's what people are on about. I don't really know, to be honest. I don't think anyone's really thought this through, and so we just say it because we just seem to be saying it to each other without any kind of understanding like what that actually involves. Yeah. So I believe that change does start with being kind to ourselves, and if you want to rebuild your confidence from the inside out instead of just masking all the time, I think we really do need to start with this. That's why this video is called Change Starts Here. But like in my world, it actually means something quite specific. So there's going to be actual techniques that I give you, and a lot of these techniques are going to be like things you sort of try out when you're not in the spotlight, and we'll get onto those in a minute. And what I really love about the ones that I'm going to share with you today that have worked for me, worked for my clients, I've adapted quite a few that I've tried in the past. Yeah, they work at this deeper level. And this topic came up recently, actually. Well, this question of, well, what does be kind to yourself mean? It came up recently in a one-to-one, which is why it's particularly in my mind at the moment. And this is with, you know, a brilliant woman. Like, all the clients I work with are brilliant, and she feels like there's two parts of her brain. There's one part that knows that she's doing a good job, or as good a job as she can, and then there's this other part that lives in a pretty much constant low-level state of anxiety, wondering whether she's going to get something wrong, going to mess something up. And when I asked her how she feels about that part of her brain, the one that gets worried and like keeps her up at night and going over things on a Friday when she wants to just be hanging out with her family, when I asked her how she feels about that part of her brain, she said she feels annoyed. Yeah, I imagine that you probably feel a bit annoyed or frustrated or fed up, or perhaps even a bit embarrassed with this part of you as well that yeah, struggles in the spotlight. By the way, you will get random people like wandering past because we are on a campsite here. And yes, it's interesting, isn't it, that this is our response, because it's not our response to other people typically if they're feeling overwhelmed or they're having a hard time. It's the case with my clients. So we can't quite remember how we got onto it, but it turns out that one of her close family members has autism. And so I was like asking her, well, how does she respond to that person when they are struggling or having a little bit of a meltdown? Like, someone in my family has autism as well, so he really struggles sometimes. Everything gets a little bit too much. And so her response in that moment isn't to get annoyed and frustrated, it's to be patient and kind. And she waits until the person has settled, and then they get on with their day and go and do something else together. It doesn't become a whole thing. It's not an argument. She doesn't get stuck in her head about it. You know, she just does what she needs to do, and they move on, and that's helpful. So how do we learn to do this for ourselves? Yeah, how do we learn to do it for this part of us that has a wobble? Yeah, so maybe you get particularly nervous after you've given a very important presentation, or beforehand, and then afterwards you have a little bit of a wobble. So how do we get to a point where we can respond to ourselves with that level of patience and kindness? And I think actually, well, not even I think, in my experience, actually is a natural response when we can see someone in their wholeness. So with this family member, it's not that she gets annoyed with them and then she has to like reason with herself. It just doesn't, the annoyance doesn't arise because she understands why they are the way they are. Move this cushion, it's a little bit annoying. So yeah, so she understands like why they are the way they are. So it wouldn't make sense to get annoyed with them because they can't do anything about it. The same as if we see someone like shouting in the street and they are visibly unwell and maybe have a mental health problem or like clearly struggling with something. I think for most women, if you're in a good mental state, and you're feeling quite well resourced, like your just natural response is one of empathy, of compassion, of understanding. Because you can see that person in your wholeness and you can understand like there's a reason why they are acting the way they are now. So the first step is just going to be the same. Yeah, for us, we need to see ourselves in our wholeness. And then after that, we just need to keep building a relationship with this part of ourselves. Yeah, and that's where the deeper kind of transformation is going to come from. So it's really like building a lifelong friendship with someone. Yeah, and at the beginning, when we first meet them and we're creating that friendship, we need to put quite a bit of effort in, and then once we've got that, then we've got this pretty solid relationship actually that you don't need to be spending all your time with each other, but when you get on the phone and you meet up occasionally, even if it's once every few years or like once a year, there's that kind of shared connection and experience. And yeah, so it's going to be like this. We're going to be putting in some effort to build this connection with ourselves. You're not going to have to keep going through all the methods I'm going to give you in the future because you've already got that relationship established. It's just a kind of case of almost like watering the friendship, yeah, and touching base and kind of re-strengthening it. It's like that with my friend Karen. So we went to university together. We were at Pembroke College in Cambridge, and we lived together in our first year, and in second year as well, in the same house in our second year. And after we graduated, we had years when we weren't really in contact with each other. A lot of different things had happened in our life, and then at some point, just after COVID, we reconnected. We got on the phone, and it was like we'd never been apart from each other. Like we're the sort of friends that we tell each other that we love each other, yeah. And it's so easy. And when I bring her to mind, we saw each other maybe about a couple of months ago, something like that. When I bring her to mind, I just have this real sense of like love and ease and warmth towards her. And we don't need to see each other all the time. There is this kind of foundation of our friendship that's been forged, during that period together. Which I know is just gonna be there. So that's what we're getting at with this connection with this part of ourselves. So I hope that example kind of gives you an idea of where we're going with this. So yeah, this sense of wholeness, seeing ourselves in our wholeness, like how do we develop that? And so like with, say, that family member with autism, we understand where it's coming from. We need to understand where our anxiety, our nervousness, that wanting to stay small, we need to understand where that is coming from. And in my last episode, go and watch it if you haven't caught up on that yet. We explored what often happened, what's often gone on in women's lives, so that they're now at this point where they are having these confidence dips. And basically something has pretty much always happened in their lives as a child or as an adult, might have been quite recent, where they have either experienced something that was scary, upsetting, that was out of their control, or they've had a sense of needing to hide some part of themselves. It's often gone into one of those two buckets, and then those experiences, because there's often like multiple, that's kind of conditioned us, and like myself included in this, it kind of conditions us to not put our heads above the parapet, yeah, to kind of stay small, stay in the box, stay invisible, kind of stay safe. And of course, we're never going to be able to make a definitive list of why we are the way we are, yeah? There'll be a number of things that have influenced us. We're very complex beings. But we do want to get kind of some sense of what it might be that has influenced us to be the way we are now. Because I think it just basically helps us develop some degree of empathy. So it's not about having this perfect list. It doesn't need to be even the correct list. Yeah, we just need to have some understanding. Some stuff has happened in my life. You know, these particular things that have gone on when I was 7 or when I was 17 or when I was in my 20s or whatever, that's kind of conditioned me in this particular way. Yeah, and then we can be kind of bearing that version of ourselves, that past self, in mind when we're, you know, having difficult responses that we'd like to change today. So in the last episode, I gave a couple of options for developing this kind of understanding of where we've come from. So the firstly is taking a question I often hear women ask themselves in frustration rhetorically, which is, why am I still like this? Yeah, you might feel like that about yourself as well, yeah. You send an email, spend ages writing it, you send it, and then you keep rereading it, and you get worried about what your response is going to be, and you're like, you spend so much time and energy on that particular example, yeah, and you might think, like, why am I still like this? Or you get shaky when you're giving a presentation. So let's just take that question and ask it like genuinely with kindness and curiosity. So why am I like this? Or probably more accurately, why might I be like this? And you can just write that down on a piece of paper and spend 10 minutes listing out a whole bunch of things that have gone in your life which might explain why you are the way you are. So that's one option if you like kind of writing, and it seems that those memories are kind of more readily available. Another way, and this is what I did with this client, is to, you know, reflect on what it feels like when you feel worried or anxious. And by the way, you might not describe your feelings like that, but I'm just going to use those phrases, yeah, and like insert your version of whatever the word is, yeah. So worried or anxious, to use kind of universally at the moment. So when you're feeling like that, like think of a specific situation. And then I want to see if you can come up with a metaphor that you could use to describe that feeling. Yeah, so this particular client, she said it's like she's walking along a beach, and at any point it could turn into quicksand, and she would kind of like the world would drop out from beneath her feet. So that's a metaphor that she uses for how she feels now in these situations. And then what we do, as I did with her, is ask yourself, like, when do I remember feeling like this before in a different kind of context? And we were able to pick up something that happened quite frequently when she was a child, and like, oh, that's very interesting, isn't it? And again, this isn't an exact science, it's more like we just need to kind of give ourselves some material to work with. So then what we've got, yeah, is we're coming into relationship with a past version of ourself, and it can be quite helpful to just, you know, I'm sure there's been multiple experiences that you've had that conditioned you. We just choose one of them, yeah. So we might choose you when you're 7, or you 7 months ago when you're in a job that felt like it completely broke you, or you had a horrible experience with a journalist, or whatever it was. Yeah, I just want you to bring that version of you to mind at that particular age, going through that experience. And now what we're going to do is move on to 15 different methods that you can use, like woven into your daily life, to help develop that relationship and develop kindness towards this part of yourself, so you can start breaking free from some of these patterns. But just to say, if you're going to be doing that reflection practice, if you start feeling very overwhelmed, or you feel like, or it does start kind of taking you sort of spiraling into a not very helpful place with your mental state, then I would encourage you to go and, you know, potentially talk to a qualified professional just to explore what that might be. Basically, even if you haven't had what you would describe as a traumatic experience, if it's having a kind of uncontrollable response in your body through, you know, you might be having panic attacks or getting very anxious or just feel very low and want to disappear, that would suggest to me that something has happened that has really affected you. And what we don't want is for you to get stuck kind of spiraling into anxiety or a more depressive state. Yeah. So I just want to make sure that if that is you, and that we've been all of us have been all through all sorts of stuff in our life, haven't we? I just want to make sure that you've got the right support that you need. So definitely take responsibility for that, and yeah, go and get any additional support that you might need for that. You know, you might have gone through that stuff in your past and have kind of worked through it, so it doesn't have the same impact on your body and your behavior now. But I just want to check that you're getting the right help. So yeah, so we've got this this past version of ourselves in mind. Let's just call it your past self, yeah? And the methods that I'm going to give you are going to fall into 3 different buckets. So either writing, creativity, or visualization. I'm going to give you 5 for each, and then over the series we'll probably unpack a few of those a bit more. So writing, I have a lot of thoughts in my head. I have ADHD, so that might also explain why I have so many. But writing can be a really good way of getting into these things. So 5 different things that you could write, and all you need, like, you don't need a fancy book or anything like that. You can just get some like random bit of paper, like some, you know, you could just use the back of these papers or whatever. Get a pen. Again, doesn't need to be a fancy pen. Don't want you to create any like barriers to cracking on with this today, because you could literally like pause the video now and do some of this. Yeah. So number 1, things I never said. Right at the top of the piece of paper, and just make a list of things that version of you, that past self, never said at the time, which you could have expressed, and just see what comes up. Things I never said. I hate you might be one of them. Yeah. Don't ever speak to me like that again. I'm really scared. This is horrible. I hate this. Whatever it might be. Yeah. Number 2, rage write. So a lot of women have suppressed anger. I love working with women through suppressed anger. It's a very liberating process, but it can feel quite jangly, so I will warn you of that in advance. That's why it can be helpful at that point to kind of work with a coach. Yeah, rage write is just, again, like 10 minutes for all of these. If you feel like that past self has some kind of anger or frustration or annoyance, just give them the space to talk from that place, and they can say whatever they want. Number 3, ask your past self what they needed that they didn't get at that time. And again, you could just write at the top, what did you need that you really wanted but didn't get? And then to see what comes up. What does your past self want to say? Number 4, what's in your bag? So I had a dream a few years ago when I was kind of transitioning through a couple of stages in my life, that I had this really strong dream of carrying like a load of baggage around with me. And it was on a motorbike for some reason. I don't ride a motorbike, but anyway. Yeah, so I had all these like, I don't think they were sacks. I think they were like hard cases. But I had this real sense of like dragging around all this kind of emotional baggage in my life that I didn't need, and that wasn't helping me and was really heavy. So you can imagine that your past self has got a bag that they're carrying around with a load of stuff in that they need to let go of, or you'd like them to let go of. And you could just ask them like, what's in your bag, and then just make a list. And then the 5th one is just to free write. So just give them room to say whatever they want. Again, 10 minutes, and just see what happens at the end of it. I think it's really good to get into this practice of just like having 10 minutes of writing anything, and just keep going and keep going and keep going. At the end of those 10 minutes, revisit, maybe underline a few things, and then yeah, just see what comes up. So there we go, there's some under writing. The creativity bucket, this is when you're doing maybe something a little bit more physical. Often you're going to be making something. I love a little bit of, I'm not going to say like art therapy, but art coaching. I think it's great. I used to do, well, I'm often making collages if I'm on a longer retreat for a while. So that's the very first one. Number 1 is create a collage or mood board for that time of your life, those experiences. Number 2 is writing some poetry, or going and finding some poems that kind of speak to this part of you, and then doing something visual with them. So you might want to write them up in big words, or particular parts of the poem. You might want to create something beautiful or kind of drawing around it. You might want to write it on a tiny bit of paper and wrap that up with a little bit of ribbon or string and carry that around with you. Whatever it is, yeah, find a poem. Love After Love by Derek Walcott. Go and have a look for that one. I'll put it in the description below. I love this one. I think it really just says so much about like what this stage is about. Number 3 is you could go and visit the place that's kind of connected with this phase or this experience of your life, and you could then do a bit of writing. So maybe you could write yourself a postcard from the past. When you go and visit the place, just see what it is that you want to go and do. Maybe you just want to go and have a coffee there or walk around a particular area, and yeah, see what comes up. You want to take some photos, but kind of follow your nose with that. Number 4, weave a thread. So when we've gone through something that's been a bit difficult, around that time there's often been other things that have been going on that have been very positive, and they might have got interrupted or paused or dropped or just kind of affected by that experience. And it can be just interesting to see what happens when you pick up that thread again and weave it into your life. So with this client that I've been talking to you about, there was a particular book at the time that she had kind of been immersed in. So one suggestion for her is to go and pick that up again and maybe just do something with it, particularly since there was something going on in her childhood. She might want to get quite creative. She's also got kids, so maybe she could go and do something with them around it as well. So I'm refusing to edit these. I want to be able to do it in one take, so you're just going to have to accept that the phone has come off today. There we go. I will get better set up for my phone. Welcome to my van, by the way, people. Very good. So, weaving a thread. What else? Maybe I'm just thinking about ice cream, because I always think about ice cream, but maybe there's a particular like ice cream that you like. There was a time in my life when white magnums meant a lot to me. It was a very particular phase of my life. So if I was getting back into connection with that past self around that time, I would probably be going and buying myself some white magnums for a period. I did a lot of singing as a child as well, and then in my 20s I started singing lessons again, and it was just interesting to explore that. And then the 5th thing is to create some kind of like memorial or shrine marking something that you've lost from that period of your life. It might be something physical that you've lost, a person, something about yourself. I don't know what it might be, but there's 3 things that we need to mark something that we've lost. Like a physical space, so this could be somewhere in your home, it could be somewhere outdoors in a garden, or like I've got a real thing about making forest shrines. You could go find some like local woods or a tree or something like that and do something there. So you just need a physical space, something to mark symbolize the thing that you've lost. It could be a rock or a leaf or a feather or something you make or whatever. And then some way of creating a beauty around that space. So if you're interested in that practice, then I will drop a link to more details. I wrote them out in a little guide a couple of months ago for my new series, Rituals for the Dead. By the way, if you don't know, I have a 1-year-old spaniel who is being pretty sensible at the moment. He's chilling out and having a sleep, but he might show up at some point. So there we go. So creativity, we've got collage or mood board, something involving poetry, visiting the place, weaving a thread back into your life, and creating a memorial or shrine. The last 5. Oh gosh, these have all got dog hair all over them. Let me know in the comments if you're happy with these slightly chaotic, I'm going to say just very normal videos. I just didn't want to be creating something that just felt completely edited and polished, you know, because I just want like a nice connection with you, just a normal personal connection. It felt really silly to do a series on imposter syndrome and then have to edit them all the time and worry if I'm saying the wrong thing. But yeah, let me know in the comments below if you appreciate this compared to the previous episode where I cut a load of stuff out. visualization. So, not all of us are very visual like in our minds. I am. I have very vivid I have very vivid dreams. And yeah, I find working with the imagination very helpful for me. So you can try these out even if you can't really imagine things in your mind's eye. Like if I'm thinking about my friend Karen, if I bring her to mind, like I sort of have a sense of her shape and things. I can't really remember how she's got her hair at the moment, whether it's in a bob or it's shorter than that. Like, so it's not about having all the details. It's more about having a kind of like sense of someone or something that's happening. So don't get too caught up on visualization. If you've got any questions about any of these practices, drop them in the comments below. Or you can come and ask me a question about them, because you can apply to be on the show and have me answer your questions, but I'll talk to you about that at the end. So yes, number one in visualization is just sit. So we're going to imagine in our minds, that's where you do imagining, that you're sat somewhere with your past self, and it's going to be a physical location. It can be anywhere. You could do it on the moon for all if you want to do it like that. We're just going to imagine them, you're sat next to them. Now, in my mind, I'm always to my left, which is curious, isn't it? Maybe you're to the right, but anyway, work out what side they go on. And yeah, it's going to be a physical space, so you can kind of bring this to mind. For me, it's often like on a park bench. You don't need to have details of exactly where it is. But yeah, just kind of some sense of, I just want you to have a sense of like the physicality, yeah. And again, you're not going to be able to remember exactly what you look like then, but just some kind of like presence of your past self next to you. And you're just going to spend a few moments just kind of sat there, yeah. And you could have a longer meditation, with this past self. And if you'd like to do that, then what I would actually just suggest is pop into my other series called Less Stress, More Impact in 30 Days. Just breathe. It's a playlist that's on the channel, and I'd probably choose either day 1 or day 2, which are more kind of conscious relaxation practices. And you could just imagine doing that next to your past self, yeah. And there is something I think that is really lovely about just like being present with yourself. A bit like my client was saying, she's just present with this family member who has autism when they're having a hard time. So that's one option. Number 2 is change the story. So with this, you've got to be happy kind of revisiting a memory of something difficult that happened. So just choose wisely around that. But I think you can do this with really sort of quite strong, difficult stuff too, and it can be it can be very transformative, but I just want to make sure you're in good mental states to do that. So in this method, what we're doing is imagining that we're going back in time and kind of pressing play on a kind of video of something happening. Maybe you're getting bullied or someone's telling you something horrible via email, whatever it was. So we're going to imagine that we're kind of alongside our past self who's going through this experience. And we're kind of just there as this kind of adult, like loving observer. And when this difficult thing happens, I want you to press pause on the video and then ask your past self, like, what is it that they want to happen right now? Yeah, this thing's going on. Like, what is it they want to happen right now? And because this is happening in your mind, you can do whatever you want. So it might be they decide they want to shout at the person. Yeah, and you can just do that because, like, why not? Just see what happens. Tell them to F off if you want to. It might be that they just want to remove themselves from the situation. You can do that with them too. It might be that actually they just want to give the person who's being horrible to them a hug because, you know, that's just what they feel like they need to do in that moment. So it's just kind of creating some sense of freedom around what happens so you're not trapped in it. And you can do this multiple times and just see what happens in different ones. But I really love that version. Probably for all of these visualizations, actually, I'm going to do a recording of them at some point. So let me know out of these 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which one below you'd like to have as a recording, and I'll prioritize those. So we've had just sit, change the story. Number 3 is just hang out. So you're just going to go about your normal day and have a sense that this past self is with you. And then you can just ask them things like, what would you like to have to dinner? One of my favourite things to do is go to the supermarket and ask them what they would like. And again, normally it involves some type of ice cream. And I'm like, what ice cream would you like to have? And the other day it was Haagen-Dazs, these like little 4 like mini cups of like different like fruit flavour ice creams. I love that. So yeah, you can just kind of hang out and see what they want to do, see what they want to do at the weekend. So number 3. Number 4 is welcome the worry. So the next time you find yourself anxious or nervous, feeling dysregulated, whatever goes on when you've had a little bit of a bump to your confidence, acknowledge that past self is probably in the room with you right now. There's some kind of connection to what happened and how you're reacting right now. And just say hi to them and ask them what they need. Yeah. And this is really helpful because it starts creating a little bit of space in those moments where you'd probably follow like the normal habits, you know, that those habits that make you say, why am I still like this? Yeah, because you just keep repeating them. This helps you become mindful, like in the moment that pattern is kind of playing out, and yeah, create some space to respond to yourself differently, because you're only going to be able to respond to the situation externally differently when you really respond to yourself internally differently as well. So yeah, welcome the worry. And then the 5th one is called the kindness collective. So when I was going through my ordination training, I'd have these nightmares when I was on retreat, and they were quite unpleasant. And the next day, it just felt like I had some kind of like emotional hangover from them, because we'd be getting up early to meditate first thing in the morning. And I would just feel all a bit kind of like jangly and a bit kind of like disconnected from my body. And I'd have all this kind of stuff from the nightmares I wasn't really sure what to do with. And yeah, I kind of developed this meditation practice. If you're within my Buddhist community, you might recognize this is kind of a riff on the Metta Bhavana and like a Tonglen practice. So this is one that I am going to definitely do a lead through of, and a bit more of a Q&A and unpacking it next week. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about it, and then yeah, then we can go into the next episode and go a bit deeper. So what I found used to work was to put the object of either my dream or a past self in the center of what became like quite a big circle of people in the end. So they kind of go in the middle. And then you imagine that you're surrounded by people who care about you or have cared about you in the past. And it can be helpful to write a whole load of people down sometimes before you do this meditation practice. So it might be past teachers. Like I would immediately think of like Miss Jeffries, who is a primary school teacher. Now I haven't seen her in like 25 years, something like that. But yeah, I would still bring her into the kindness collective. So your past self's in the center, and then you're surrounded by all of these people who've cared for you in some way, have been kind to you in some way throughout your life. And you're just going to stick yourself somewhere in the collective. And then once you've done that in your mind, and again, you don't need to get caught up in all the details, it's just this kind of general sense of being part of this, yeah, kindness collective. You can then do one of two things. So you can either have a more, what we'd call like a receptive meditation practice. So like the just sitting at the beginning, just sitting with yourself. You can imagine that you're just going to stay there being just kind of present with this past self and see what happens. Or you can have a more active meditation practice and actively wish yourself well. So you can do that with phrases. So I'll give you some options next week of phrases that you can use. You can imagine that love and kindness is coming in with the breath and going out with the breath. You could do a bit more of a Tonglen, of imagining that as you breathe in, you're breathing in the suffering from your past self. When it hits your heart center, it hits some kind of like wish-fulfilling jewel. That's what we use within our Buddhist order. And then as it's, or like a Buddha figure that we would use. You could, you know, if you've got a relationship with God or something, like you might do something with that. So it's going to kind of hit, you breathe in the suffering, it transforms as it reaches your heart center, so you don't get a sense of yourself like having the suffering. Yeah, it transforms it as soon as it reaches you. Oh, the other thing you can do is imagine it kind of coming through a force field and transforming as it does then. So yeah, it kind of comes in, it turns into white light, and then you breathe out the white light to your past self. So yeah, we'll do a proper walkthrough of some different options next week. Second time that's happened, we need to sort that out for next week, but let's just keep rolling. So yeah, I'll sort out a whole like run through for that next week. So there you go, there's the 5 options for visualization. We've got just sit, change the story, hang out, welcome the worry, or the kindness collective. So whatever you've done out of those methods, it's really important that afterwards you spend a bit of time and effort just like transitioning back into your life, because all sorts of emotions can come up with this stuff. So there's 3 steps to that. You just notice like how you're doing like right now, like physically in the body. You might do some writing around it. I would then suggest doing something to like shift the energy. I used to love Shake It Off. Yeah, I think it's called Shake It Off by Taylor Swift. I used to just put that on and have a bit of a dance around. You might do some yoga, go and walk the dog, like whatever it is. I think there's just something that to do, like getting physically back in our bodies. And basically, if there's been any kind of like nervous system stuff kicked off, we want to just help our bodies kind of process that. And then we're just going to continue on with our day. So it's so important to know that you can dip into this stuff. Some emotions might come up, some thoughts and feelings might come up, some stories might come up. And then you can do a bit to process that in your nervous system, and then you can just get on with your day. And that's fine. And you don't need to kind of get to, like, you don't need to keep like digging into what happened and stuff. I think you can just trust that you've just dropped something into the unconscious and it's just going to play out. Yeah. What we don't want to do is feel like we've got to get stuck there, or we just like disconnect from ourselves and tell ourselves, oh, you just got to get on with it. Yeah, we're not going like, get all your feelings back in the box. Yeah, we're going to tend to what's ever come up and just allow it. You know, it might just kind of permeate your day a little bit, but we're still going to get on with doing the things that we'd normally be doing. So there you go. There's a whole bunch of methods that you could start playing around with. I would suggest that over a couple of days, maybe one weekend, you do this. So on the first day, meet this past self. Yeah, do one of those 2 exercises to actually like bring to mind this past self that's been, you know, got affected by something that was a bit difficult. So meet them first. Do one of these 15 methods or something else. Yeah, I might have just sparked off some ideas for you. So do something to like build that connection with them. Then go through that little process of transitioning out of it and stepping back into your life properly. And then that evening, just that night, so it wouldn't be until the following morning, just see if you can like recollect anything going on in your dreams. We'll do a bit more about dream work later on. If you're interested in that, everything I've done really has been through a guy called Charlie Morley. I love him. We'll talk about him later. Charlie, if you ever watch this, I love you. Thank you. You've changed my life. So yeah, we're going to notice our dreams, and then at some point in the day, just want you to have like a little check-in with yourself, some way of saying hello to your past self. Yeah, because it will be playing out. So yeah, that is a kind of process to go through. There we go. Loads of things to explore. I mean, we could just spend a whole series digging into all of these different methods, but we won't do that. We'll dig into a few of them at different points. Next week, we'll go into the Kindness Collective, because honestly, it was just so transformative. It sounds like it takes a long time, but it doesn't have to. But you know, look, if you want to change, it is going to take some time and effort. Yeah, it is going to take you like investing in yourself. So this isn't like, there are some quick wins, yeah, and there are some things that you can do that don't take a very long time, or it's just shifting what you're already doing to doing it in a different way that will be more helpful for you. But like, we are going to need, I think, well, I've needed to carve out actually quite a lot of time to change some of the stuff. Like working through like 10 years of getting bullied as a kid, like it's taken some time. And what I promise you is that if you invest this time, like you will like get that time back. Because I'm sure you waste loads of time right now, like procrastinating, going over things in your head, working with your nervous system, doing all the bloody power poses in the toilets or whatever. Like you're already spending quite a lot of time just managing this stuff. So if you can invest some to actually change it at a deeper level, like you will get that time back and that energy back in the future. But yeah, if you're looking for quick wins, like, it's not really the series for you, love. Like this is going to take some work. Yeah, like my ordination training process was like 7 years. Yeah, that was like personal growth boot camp. I haven't worked through all of my anxiety by not, by the way, that wasn't like 7 years of just doing that. It's like I was getting on with my life. But I just want to make a point, yeah, we do need to be realistic about what is actually going to take to really change this stuff. So there we go. I'd love to know what you're thinking of trying out those 15 methods in the comments below. I have some things I need to remember to tell you before I just exit stage left. So yes, next session is going to be on the Kindness Collective. There's a few ways that I can help you outside of this series, yeah, but I'll get onto those in a second. The first thing that I would like you to do after you watch this video, or you can do it now I think, is to like this video and subscribe to my channel, because I imagine that is going to do something for my algorithm and will help these videos reach more women like you. So I'd love it if you would do that. Please do it. That would make my day. Thank you very much. The second thing is as a free gift to you, you can apply to be on this show. So you can apply to have a question answered. I can do that anonymously if you want. You can just have your first name listed, but if you want me to like let the world who you know and where you are and find you on Instagram, whatever, then you can do that as well. There will be a link in the video description. I imagine it's below. I'm still getting used to YouTube and whatever things are, but I will put it towards the top. I would love you to be on this show. So you're just going to write in and tell me a bunch of things about what's going on and what you're struggling with. Ask a specific question. And then it might be that we do a little bit of back and forth just so I can make sure I understand the situation properly. And then I will record a video as part of the show responding to that. And there are no silly questions, and I'm sure whatever it is that you're struggling with or you want to ask, there will be other women watching this who want to find that out too. So please do apply. And then thirdly, like, you might be watching this and thinking like, I would love to work with Ari and Isha, like these videos are great, but I just want more support than like a one-off question answered. And I want you to know that you can do that. So please do apply to work with me if you think you're ready for that. There's a few different options. One-to-one does make sense for some people. Like, there's some stuff that they've gone through that like really just needs to be held completely in confidence. They don't even want anyone to know that they are working with me. I understand that has happened for a few people. So you can apply work one-to-one. And there's an online program that's starting really soon. I'm just starting to gather a list of people who are interested, and so apply for that. The plan is for it to start in September 2026, all being well. I think there is something very special about a group of like brilliant, experienced, capable women coming together to work on this stuff together. It's so important, I think, to have support from a peer group. Or like, you could also bring me in-house. So perhaps you have a women's like EDI program, maybe you've got a network of women that you've got access to, or a community of women that you've built yourself too. If you found this stuff helpful and would like me to come in and do something with you in-house, then do let me know. All of the information about how to do that will be below. So there we go. I'm hoping it's all going to work with me uploading this. And I will see you over in the next episode for the Kindness Collective. Lots of love. Catch you next week. Bye. Thanks for tuning in.